Leaked artwork reveals the fifth old god. Who is this guy? Is the fifth old god still a thing? Are we just going to let that one pass us by? There's the whole mural in the first raid that we dealt with in Ashkahet and everything like that. And that's all kind of gone to the wayside. What's going on with this fifth old god? Is Zalateth really into hentai tentacles? We'll find out. Let's watch this video.
So we just ran into some crazy new official artwork. This is all super niche behind the scenes, as this is actually a studio that Blizzard had hired to develop the concepts of the War Within all the way back during Shadowlands. Some images are shocking. We can see a giant old god-like Kraken figure that we've never seen before. We can see a giant old god type fish inside of some prison in some room. Remember that old god fish hint we got a few months back in the War Within? What is even more crazy, we see a gigantic hand of what appears to be Azeroth or some other absolutely massive entity coming out of the water. And remember, we have a void sea in the zone, as they said, a sea under the sea. So let's take a look at some of the most interesting images from this official concept art.
Some of these are really pretty. What the hell is this? This is supposed to be Hallowfall? This looks like a better version than what we got here. Look at this, like these lights on here. Damn. This is really nice.
Images from this official concept art that is connected to what we currently know about the expansion. So I've been running a raid channel for a few months now, and I would really appreciate it if you guys could check it out. And there is no better time to start raid than now, as they're giving everyone a completely free legendary champion. All you gotta do is log in after you download the game with my link in the description or the QR code that you can see on the screen. So until the 5th of May, everyone is going to get Ludex Arthur. All you gotta do is log in every single day. But better yet, there will also be a final reward, a legendary relic where the community will actually vote on what it will be. Now, if you guys look to join in, I'm currently running a pretty successful clan where we got a few more spots left, and I've also got dozens of videos on how to start. However, better yet, they're going absolutely crazy with the code.
Skip the damn ad. Now, we watch the content, so we should watch this ad.
6 for Supreme Gallic, you got Monkey King for Son of Wukong.
That's why I watch it.
Get Alice for Alice, get Loki.
The guy looks like Sam if he worked out. I work out. What the hell are you talking about?
On top of my code that you can use.
Talking
shit. Click my link in the description or scan the QR code on the screen, and you will get Gala as soon as you complete the tutorial.
That's a big titty orc right there.
15 plus a package worth $60.
Oh wow!
Then you can use one of the codes I just mentioned. Then another one on top of that called Game Leap. All you gotta do is, after that, log in for 25 days, so you will get yet another legendary. Literally never been a better start. So check out my link in the description, QR code on the screen, and also check out my second channel.
All right, let's get back to the WoW lore.
Some crazy new information that kind of dropped in the background, as this is just a portfolio of a studio that apparently Blizzard had hired all the way back in like 2021, so actually still during Shadowlands, as this is when they actually began to work.
So Blizzard hired this art studio back in 2021, so yeah, kind of pre-AI art now, right? Because that Blizzard probably won't do this shit anymore. They'll just get AI to make the art for them. I feel bad for art studios, man. I don't know what's going to happen to them.
On the War Within. This studio called
AI
West
coming for the
Studio is a
jobs.
concept artist team that worked to flesh out the ideas that Blizzard originally gave them for this expansion. While this is of course super early work and there are like 100 images that mainly work to set the tone for the actual Blizzard art team, there are a few images.
What the heck is this? What are some of these images, man? I'm kind of sad we didn't get some of this shit. This is like a village on top of an old godhead. What the hell? This is like Cthulhu or something.
There are a few images that we can kind of cherry pick from this to really analyze.
Because damn, you guys see this? It's like an ocean under. You can see creatures swimming around inside this cave.
Analyze because they're super interesting. Well, these are definitely
monster coming out of the
final
ground
concepts. Someone at Blizzard obviously told them to draw these, and I think some may be predictors for what is going to happen in this expansion.
Wow.
Now, the studio itself says on the website that they had the pleasure of providing a blue sky environment exploration for the War Within, though much of the work wasn't direct.
If you're wondering what blue sky is, it's like a term used in a lot of industries. It's like very high concept. Like, you know, pie in the sky, high, like very conceptual shit. They haven't really gotten down to the brass tacks of how it would be implemented or what's going to happen. It's just very high level concepts. That's what
used
blue
in
sky
game,
is.
these early concepts served as a useful pre-production inspiration that influenced the vision of several key locations that are in the final release. As I had previously stated, this really was fleshing out ideas, but why would these guys draw a massive old god that looks exactly same as that mural
It
that
does
we
look
have
like
with
the mural.
Nubians? And also, why would they draw this fish being inside of a chamber, which, by the way, do you remember the void fish hint? Also, why would they come up with this giant hand that looks like...
Oh my god, that is a giant hand. Oh, and it's like sticking out of the water slightly. I was wondering what's going on here. So this is like a underwater, there's a ship here. Damn.
a female hand almost resembling Azeroth, like coming out of the sea, which...
To me, this looks like it's supposed to be a statue, like a statue that's buried underwater or something.
Like coming out of the sea, which, by the way, you may remember there is going to be a sea under the sea and all these hints. While we could of course discuss some of these images for an hour, let's just focus on the most interesting
really cool.
old god figures. So all of you that have been following my channel or just lore for a while now, you might remember that Blizzard literally added a 5th old god in the lore. Original classic lore, so 20 years ago, there were 5 old gods, but then the Chronicles some 10 years later retconned that to 4 old gods, so N'Zoth, Khatun, Yogg-Saron, and Yasharj. Right. Then in Dragonflight, they added 2 documents, one stating that 5 old gods exists, and people were talking that it's just Blizzard making a mistake, not being consistent, not fact-checking their own lore. But then,
isn't that funny that like we blame Blizzard for making mistakes when they drop new lore? We're like, nah, that's probably not right. They're just making mistakes because it's happened before. Geez, man, fucking chat just ripping me a new asshole. I'm trying to watch some lore videos.
That has been in the game for years now, and it was never changed, which means it was definitely intentional. Then we come across one more document, which is really a discussion in itself, but long story short, they told us that the Titans are kinda BSing us when they told us that they had imprisoned the old gods and ordered Azeroth, as in that is not the whole story. And what about what they hid beyond the waves? Well, check this out. Now we are beyond the waves. We have discovered this brand new Titan expedition that we never heard about on Khazakar. However, realistically, could this at the same time refer to Avaloran and the other side of Azeroth?
Oh yeah.
I digress. Obviously, these 2 bits of lore weren't just a coincidence. In fact, in the War Within, all the way back in the beta of the game, we had discovered this oddly suspicious old god mural of an old god that looks kinda similar to N'Zoth, but really unlike any being we had previously seen in the past. It had crazy symbolism of what appears to be Nerubians entering its mouth and faceless ones everywhere. It also showed us a giant crystal on the right.
I still think this is the Halifal crystal. That something's going to happen to it to enter into like a permanent void form at the end. Who knows if Xal'atath's going to do this thing or something else, but I think this is the crystal still from Halifal.
I think a light around it, which I'm like 99% certain it is Beledar, because Beledar is referred to as the sun of this underground zone. Not only is the name Belore literal sun in the Elven language, and the Arathi are half elves, but Blizzard has been going on and on about how they came up with an underground zone that has a sun of its own. So you all know this, we can see this, but now that we run into this third-party artwork from this concept art studio, everything kinda unravels. It isn't random, and looks like the 5th old god is actually realistic. So let's look at 11.1.5, which is coming out in a bit more than a week.
Yeah.
We've learned from the official Blizzard website that we are getting the return of N'Zoth's horrific visions from BFA. The in-game justification for that is that we are traveling in time because soon something similar is going to happen, and we need to figure out what we did and to learn as much as possible.
And we're going back to the horrific visions, because horrific visions are a look into what the planet will look like if it falls into void. So we want to see, hey, Azeroth falls into void, what's going to happen? How do we deal with it? All this shit that's supposed to hit us at midnight. So it's a prelude to it all.
Previous events for this new upcoming event. Now, remember, that mural was literally never explained. The mural has a crystal, and with Nightfall, it seems like we're getting the final battle for Beledar and the final push of the Nerubians, which means this...
Maybe the gem has 2 sides and the other side is dark? What gem? What are you talking about? The Halifal crystal? I don't know what gem. Hey, Samiccus, what is going on? My God, chat's so violent.
This will happen soon. Now,
Rehash,
let's take
I
a
don't.
Look at the
Maybe it falls. I would think though it's gonna fall into the void. I'd understand like I think the perfect version of the crystal is a balanced version. That's what we're getting into with all this Azeroth and void and light. That it's supposed to be balanced at the end of the day, not one side or the other. But I think Xal'atath's pushing more to the void side, and she's gonna lead us into the Midnight expansion. That's why I think the crystal is gonna fall into a permanent void form.
artwork. So
We'll
there
see.
is one really interesting image of what appears to be a Kraken-like old god, and why I wouldn't say it is just a Kraken is because the fifth old god in the mural looks very close
It does
to
look
this
the
concept.
same.
A lot of tentacles. He seems
Especially the mouth. The mouth looks very similar on the mural to the concept art right here. Yeah, and like this looks like it's supposed to be multiple eyes here. They do look similar. They do. I think this is the same monster here.
tentacles. He seems like an underwater being. Big important point to figure out here is that we are actually under the sea here. I mean, under the island within this rift known as Kazlagar. And also we had gotten multiple void hints of a sea under the sea. A void sea where no light shines.
Right.
You might remember that quest where we got that fish, which by the way is usually the disguise of old gods, in particular N'Zoth, that told us that what I just mentioned. Now the other artwork shows what appears to be a fish.
He keeps saying it's a fish. To me it looks like a worm. It looks like a worm. It kind of reminds me of Gahoon. That's what it kind of looks like.
Like old god being inside of a giant crystal in this very strange room that appears like an altar. There is also another similar room in the concept art that is sort of underwater that shows what appears to be a portal and has a tentacle coming through it. Now,
damn, that looks really cool, man. Some of these concept arts, I'm almost sad that some of these aren't happening. Look at these rune pillars here and this fucking tentacle coming out of this void portal. Damn.
And he has a tentacle coming through it. Now, I am aware this is all so vague. Of course it is, because it is 2021, earliest possible concept art, but I think they already knew what was going to happen back then. If you make it notice, there is a strong underwater theme with the war within. The lore that we know is that apparently in order to cleanse Azeroth, the Titan Eonar together with Elune planted a world tree Eluna here, but Amantul ripped it out and created this rift. We also learned that the bottom of Kazlagar is the actual World Soul Chamber, a Titan prison the Titans had created over Azeroth, known as the World Core. This is where we can actually access the World Soul. So check this out. If this is where the World Soul is, where the Titans put the chamber, where the life forces Elune planted a world tree, wouldn't by the same logic old gods also want to implant themselves in this exact spot? Almost certainly one of the old gods dug himself here very deep, and before any of the other things happened, they first had to deal with him.
Yeah, I've said it a million times. N'Zoth whispers, I mean, deeper its roots will grow, ushering in our coming, I believe was what he said. N'Zoth talked about world tree roots, so yeah, they are important to old gods.
One of the theories is that this old god is imprisoned inside Beledar itself, which is why the crystal is so gigantic. The explanation from Aliria's book, 1000 Years of War, mentioned another planet and how the light had actually imprisoned beings in crystals the size of mountains, and these beings were unable to die. I know there is so much to unpack here, but something is definitely going on. It's possible that the fifth old god was underwater, which explains the Kraken appearance and all the other fish-like features. Furthermore, we seem to be finding laboratories containing old god parts, and in the opening cinematic, Nerubians were harvesting old god blood from some tentacles whose origin we've never learned about. Just to shed a little bit of light over this, I want to mention the Arathi prophecy that actually foreshadowed all of this happening, everything that happened and everything that is going to happen now. So it told us of their expedition arrival and everything that happened, but then it said, the remains of gods scattered across the battlefield, pulsed with an unseen light. Their echoes, a clarion called stirred the Arathi, compelling them to fight, to kill for the world's dawn. Amidst the chaos, the Forgotten One cried.
The world's dawn. I wonder what they mean by that. It sounds like some kind of end time event or something.
Amidst the chaos, the Forgotten One cried. When the last star fades, the Emperor's crown will weigh heavy with the sins of 1,000 years. The stalwart soldiers threw down their spears and wept tears of blood and burning anger. Keep in mind, the fact that they mentioned the remains of gods, which we are running into all over the place, even in this artwork you could just see. Furthermore, the Forgotten One seems to curse the soldiers, saying that when the last star fades, the Emperor's crown will weigh heavy with the sins of 1,000 years. First of all, Forgotten One really sounds a lot like the original interpretation of the old gods back from Warcraft 3, and also the last star fading sounds quite a lot like the mural in the Nerubian zone, and
like the crystal fading. Yeah, maybe.
The last star fading, aka Beledar. It's still hard to speculate now what will happen because we still have that rootland zone that we're yet to see with the Haranir and also the entire Void Sea or Sea Under the Sea, yet we had just gotten hints that the Ethereals took the Dark Heart very likely to Karesh. It's uncertain whether 11.2
This is the coolest part of the lore right now. I just want them to explore this more. I want to go to Karesh. I hope this is what we're doing.
is going to be Karesh, or if that is just foreshadowing for Midnight, but there is still a lot to unpack in Kazakh. When you think about it, nothing actually happened in the story yet, despite the fact that 11.1.5 is coming out in a bit more than a week. We still don't know what Beledar is, we still haven't discovered that hidden zone, we haven't gotten to the roots of the World 3, Old God Blood hasn't been explained, that mural was never explained either. I really feel like that Old God is going to be relevant, and that might even be the final boss of the expansion. There was previously a hint that Beledar could be a prison, and we have discovered that artwork that shows stairs from the Arathi church leading inside Beledar.
Talked about
if
that.
the last star really fades and it permanently converts into the void, then
that whole stairs into Beledar thing makes a lot of, including myself, makes us think that that could be the site of our final raid for this expansion.
Now, we will have to go inside the crystal itself and deal with whatever is there. However, all the hints so far do point out that the fifth Old God does actually exist, or he might have existed in some ancient part of Azeroth's history, with his Kraken-like appearance very similar to N'Zoth. Thank you for watching. Check out what is going on with Sergetos by clicking on the screen, and subscribe to my raid channel by clicking on the screen as well. See you next time.
Very cool. Interesting pieces of art here. I mean, some of this stuff was pretty mind-blowing, honestly. And like I said, and like Doran said in the video, they weren't drafting this art without direction, right? Like, this is not just random fucking off-the-cuff art. This was all by direction from Blizzard. They were clearly requesting some of this art to be done. And some of this is damaged. It looks like this is breaking open here. So this tentacle's breaking through this wall. Giant void portal. Damn, this looks cool, man. We'll see if any of this comes to fruition. Nice video from Doran.